All right, good morning,
Hey,
everybody. Today we're going to go over how to keep your buyer's payments low in this market. So just a few tips and tricks, tell people that are kind of on the fence about buying, how to get them into the market with the higher interest rates.
yeah, I think the biggest thing we're hearing from people is like, hey, I was looking for houses that were, 650 in December, and now I just can't afford them. Um, you know, and we don't like the houses that we can afford based on the same payment. They're down to like 500, 525, 550, and they're just not as nice as the ones we were looking at. So when you're hearing that, I think there are opportunities that you can use and you can get creative with. Or if you're trying to take someone to that, like you see like a perfect house for them, but it's 50,000 over there, like where they want their payments to be. That is exactly what we're going to talk about and what this is for. I think so many times clients are so apt to negotiate on price. And I think agents are trained that way too, for the most part. Like, you want to negotiate on price, get the price down. But sometimes negotiating on getting a credit as opposed to price can do so much more for them on a monthly payment. And that's kind of what we're just going to just go over a couple of really simple concepts, but they can end up saving a deal for you. They can also save a client from becoming a renter as opposed to an owner when you've done so much hard work showing them properties. So it might go to, we'll go do a quick like market update so you guys know where like the base rates are right now. There was something that came out the other day from Freddie Mac that said the average interest rate was like 4.99. But those rates always have points attached to them. So if you read carefully on that, I know a bunch of people posted it. I saw there must have been something sent to real estate agents because like I saw like 6 people post the same thing. There's 0.8 points built into that from Freddie Mac. So the rates actually never really hit 4.99. They were probably slightly over. We did have some people that were able to get it based on putting bigger down payments, and they also like in certain cases, but right around there, like 5 and an eighth. That's approximately where rates are right now. Jumbo rates are still hanging around at like maybe like 4.3 on a 7-year arm, all the way to maybe 4.75 or 4.875 on a fixed. Just a reminder, jumbo is anything over 647,200. So those are the buyers that are in the 810 and above that are putting 20% down. They can really get some great numbers. Mike, I think what was our apps last week? We had probably 25% higher than the week before.
Yeah, the week over week, like the past 3 weeks was about 20 to 25% higher than the previous 3 weeks. So we're definitely seeing it pick up just a little bit now that the rates are in the high fives anymore.
Yeah, I think once the rates got away from that 6 and then the fear of like going to 7 or 8% went away, you started seeing some people say, okay, this isn't bad. I can handle this. You're hearing people be okay with 5%, 4.8%. That's like the new normal now for a lot of people. Whereas if I would have told somebody in December that their rate was 4.8, they would have sent the police here. So that's, perception has definitely changed, which is good. Some of the things we're talking about today. So real easy, like everybody's done a seller's concession. Most of the times they've done it for closing costs, or they did it because there was a credit, let's say on an inspection, and you were going to do it in the form of closing costs so that the clients didn't have to bring that money and they can fix the items. Here, we're going to be using the actual, credit from the seller in order to buy down the rates to make it a much more affordable house for the client, either in the short term, like for the first 2 years, or you could do it forever. But these are things that could absolutely potentially save a deal. So I think almost the whole industry will agree that probably within the next 2 years, we will see another refi boom at some point. Just because, and we don't need rates to go down to 2.8% like they were in 2019 to see that, or 2020 and 21, excuse me, to see that. I think if rates go down to 4.25%, we're going to see a huge refi boom. It won't be like it was last 2 years because then everybody was able to refi to like 2.7, 2.8. Nobody had that. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of the market that has those great rates. They're not going to be eligible. But everyone who's closing second quarter on in 2022 are probably going to want to refinance their loans. And they're all going to have opportunities to do so. So we're really seeing anything we're doing now to be as probably the maximum a 2-year plan for the clients. So the buy down, this is my favorite one. People have forgotten it. It's been around forever. A 2-1 buy down basically just lowers your interest rate by 2% for the first 12 months, 1% for the next 12 months. Simple as that. So year 3 on, it goes to a regular 3-year fixed rate exactly at what the rate would have been today. So it's really not that you're buying down your rate forever. You're really just subsidizing your payments for the first 2 years. Now, here's an example, we'll show you next. So real life example. We actually talked to someone about this the other day, and they were shocked at the number. So we have somebody that's buying a $600,000 house with 20% down. I'm just using that. It doesn't have to be 20%. It could be as low as 5%, makes no difference. So in this case, we have a $480,000 loan amount. And let's say the current interest rate is 5%. If you just simply increase that price to 610, once, even after you agreed to the price already, increase it to 610. I think we're all seeing appraisals are not a problem right now, at least in most cases. I'm not having any issues with appraisals because the comps that they're using are from 6 months ago where the market was on fire. So we're feeling good about those. So bring that thing up to 610, get a $10,000 seller's concession, right? Simple. That's your only job, by the way, as a realtor. You don't have to know anything else on this other than, hey, I'm going to get this guy a concession. I'm going to have him talk to Barrett as to how we're going to use that concession to our advantage. So now with that 10,000 bucks, we can drop his first year payment from 5% to 3% rate, drops by $512 a month for the first 12 months. Second year goes to 4%, right? So 1 to 2% drop first year, 1% the second year. So now the payment drops by $247. The third year on, he's getting exactly what he would have gotten today. So by simply paying an extra $10,000 for the house, putting down an extra $2,000 bucks out of his pocket, because 20%, he does have to do that, and getting that $10,000 credit, he gives himself a huge drop in payment. That $512 a month is basically like, a payment that he may not have been able to, afford right now. And maybe 600 was a stretch for him because at the 5% is too much, but drop that thing by 500 bucks and maybe he's feeling good. And a lot of people are in that mindset right now. They're worried about the finances for the first 24 months. They're not worried beyond that because they think they're going to get raises. Bonuses are still happening. And there's a lot of people that are just concerned, overall. Hey, Mike, Nancy just asked what the payment would be at the 5% in that example, just so you can kind of get a feel for it. If you can pop that in there. So yeah, I mean, so to me, like, no break. It could be used for any loan amount. I talked to a builder the other day as a real life example, and we were talking about what they can do as an incentive as opposed to price. And, literally at, like a $970,000 loan amount, if he just gave up 2% of the price, as opposed to doing a reduction of 2%, the payments were so much better for the buyer that there was people that would actually buy as opposed to walking away from that property. So this is something that could, where you're thinking for your clients, it's not for everyone. It's for situations where you're trying to get somebody to a price point that's 50,000 higher than where they're comfortable now, but not necessarily where they'll be comfortable in 3 years. And the understanding is that, hey, don't buy a crap house now that you're going to outgrow in 2 years. Buy the nicer one. Let's do this. Within 2 years, we'll refinance you into something more permanent. So therefore, something that is going to be hopefully in the low 4s. So maybe that second year payment will be their permanent payment. Or maybe ARMs will come back in the future. But either way, we're really confident that rates won't be at 5% in 24 months. So I think that it'll alleviate some of their fears and then allow them to do that. Second example. So this is an easy one. This is a 2-1 buy down. There's also something as simple as a 1-0 buy down. You literally just lower the person's rate by 1% for the first 12 months. Again, gets them through the first year, gets them comfortable. They do their improvements. They fix up their house. They're feeling good. And then, they do it. So that one's a lot cheaper, right? You're only reducing the rate by 1% for 12 months. So simple case here. We did a $500,000 sales price with 5% down. Your typical first-time buyer. It literally would only take about a $3,000 concession for us to drop the rate by 1% for the first 12 months. Saves $268 a month for 12 months. The $3,000 extra we're throwing on the loan is nothing. It's $10 in payment. So it's so little that the savings is much more, this is much more profound than somebody just paying points and buying down their rate over 30 years. Because I don't think they're going to need this rate for 30 years. No matter what they do today, I think this thing is gone in 24 to 36. And I say 24 or less personally. I don't think it goes 36. We're already seeing that the bond market is reacting every time there's any news that talks about maybe inflation being, curbing. We're seeing the bond market immediately, jump in, and you're seeing rates go down. As soon as we hit 6.25%, there was a resistance point. We got all the way back down to 5. So, Nancy, that payment is $2,576. In case you're not seeing the notes down there. So, the drop the payment from $2,576 to $2,000. That's a pretty material difference, I think, for someone for 12 months, and then to somewhere in the middle of that for another 12 months. That gives them a pretty solid base. And I think hopefully, might save a deal or two. The next way to use this, Mike put a note on there too. Yeah, it's about a 2% to 2.1% cost generally when you're doing these. We kind of tested it with like 3 or 4 different loan amounts, and it's technically the loan amount, not the purchase price. So you're not looking for 2% of the price. You're technically, so if you get me 2% of the price, I'll probably have more to work with there. Now keep in mind, you can also combine this with something. So let's say you get them a 3% concession. We can use 2% to do the buy down. We can use the other 1% to cover closing costs. We can buy down the 5% rate and bring it down more and make that 4.75 as the final rate and still do a 2-1 buy down. So like you get me the money and I'll figure out like how to use it for their benefit. And like I love this first 2-year plan because it's so much more intense, like I said, than just doing lowering it. But I'm going to show that option too. Mike, if you want to go to the next slide. So this is for your higher end buyer. They're buying $1 million house and they have 20% down. And let's say their rate's going to be 4.75 on a 30-year fix, which that's about a realistic number too. So you do a 1 point buy down. So 1 point, what's a point? 1% of the loan amount. So $8,000. So you get an $8,000 credit on top of it. So now you bring it up to $1.8 million. Lowers the payments by $120 a month because it's a 0.25% drop. So you drop the price $8,000 as you're negotiating, it's like $33. So it's such a significant difference that when you're thinking like, especially with buyers and how important payments are to them right now, getting those credits as opposed to fighting for a couple of bucks on price might be a good thing. And again, even if you agree on price first and add it after, that's okay. But in some cases you might just say, hey, you know what? I'll give you the $1 million for the house. You give us a concession of 16,000. So I'm giving you 984. And that might be your negotiating, right? That you're just going to get it at 984 or something like that. Regardless of how you get there, that concession working hand in hand with us, and we'll talk to the client ahead of time, I think could do wonders for them. I have a few people right now, the real life examples that we're using this for, that like, in one case, the guy was shopping at 600. They were unhappy at 600. They could not find anything they liked. They were very confident in their incomes over the next 3 years of major increases. They were also confident in eliminating debt over the next 6 months that is currently causing them money. We were able to qualify them at 700. So when we do the qualification, we're still qualifying at 5%. So they qualified for 7. It just wasn't a comfortable payment. But all of a sudden, when we did this and they saw what they can get for the first 12, then the next 12, and all it took was a concession, which meant they're paying an extra 15 for the house, they were totally in. So now they're shopping for places that are 700 to 715, and the realtor has a buyer that is fully on board looking for properties every weekend. So Nancy question, does this work in combo with a jumbo? So with jumbos, you're not doing a 2-1 buy down. You're probably on that one just doing the old school, every point buys down a 0.25%. But even that makes like a huge difference. Like I said, $120 for a 0.25% on an $800,000 loan. So you get 2 points as a concession. You're down to like 4.25. That's not even a high rate at that point. They can keep that forever at that point because that is a forever buy down. On the conventional FHA VA, this works. And it's, technically a buyer can fund it, but like if a buyer funds it, what's the point almost? Like, you don't want the buyer to fund it out of their pocket because they could have just held on to the money and paid the higher payment. So the way it really works is when you're doing it as a part of a concession, it's not coming out of their pocket. They're simply just financing a little extra money. And that little extra money is no big deal. And it really, like I said, drops the payments drastically over those first 24 months. I wasn't following all the questions that were coming through the chat. So if there's anything coming, just let me know. I think these are like, again, super simple, but just don't forget the concession thing because it could really, like I said, for certain buyers, that is like, I talk to everyone every day when I give them the payments. Some people don't care and they're good. It's like the people that don't care about their payments, they might want to pay the cheapest price for the house knowing they're going to refi. But there are some people right now in the market that are like at their absolute tippy top limit for a monthly payment. And the houses you're showing them are not doing it for them. Maybe this would be a conversation to have with them. And you just know you have to build it in. If there's ever a time you can build in a seller's concession in the past 4 years, it's probably now. Last couple of years, if you asked for a concession, you probably would have been, shunned or stoned. Now, not anymore. I think now, like, there's at least a chance that somebody might accept, and things are sitting a little longer. I think FHA offers are being looked at again. 5% offers are being looked at again. And so who knows, so at least it gives them a shot and gives you a different perspective on how to work with these folks. Mike, is there anything else we had on this? Just a couple like,
Yeah, there's just one more slide just to touch on jumbos and arms again.
oh yeah, it doesn't, I mean, this never hurts, right? Like, again, we've reiterated this a few times, but always a good reminder. If you're sitting there and shopping at 780 right now with someone, just take them up to 810 with 20%. So if they're at 20% at 780, they'll be so much better off at 810 with the same 20%. Work in a seller's concession, include furniture, do whatever you have to do, but try to get them to that 810 number with that same 20%. The rates on jumbo are still a solid, maybe 3/8 to 0.5% better than conventional, even with the lower conventional rates. So, 100% if the clients are sitting and they're telling you, hey, we're at 750, 760, as long as they have the down payment on the extra money. So at 810, obviously you have a bigger down payment at 20% than you do at 760. So you have to take that into account. But if they have it, I'm telling you, the payments are ending up identical. It opens up the world of 10-year arms and 7-year arms, which people are thrilled with right now. And so it's 100%, like in Hudson County, when we talk to people, I'm like, get them a place with parking if you're getting them one without. Tell them they can afford parking basically for the same monthly payment simply by increasing the price to 810. If you're in the suburbs, you might end up going to maybe an extra bedroom, maybe an extra bath on a place, maybe a nicer neighborhood. But again, the payments aren't being affected by a lot because the jumbos are just so significantly better on the rate side. And again, offer more options. Tons of suburb buyers right now are completely open to 7 and 10-year arms. I'm not getting literally any pushback on when I talk to them and I explain how it works in layman's terms. I think I'd say 9 out of 10 that are eligible are fine with it. In Hudson County, 10 out of 10. Like literally, like no one really needs a fixed rate unless they absolutely have to because of a scenario and they just couldn't get anything else. So just to give you guys a heads up there. I'll open it up to a couple of questions. Like I said, my goal is always to get these things done quick. So we have 9 minutes before it's 12. Anything I can answer for anyone? Anything in the chat that we didn't answer yet?
No, I think we got everything.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I mean, the things we're seeing now are we're definitely seeing buyers that want a deal. Everybody wants a deal. I'm not seeing massive fear. I've seen some people go above their budgets just anyway. Keep in mind, like things that are jumbo with like 10% down, they really increase the payments a lot. So just be aware of it. So if you have somebody that's trying to buy a $1.3 million place and they tell you they only have 10%, yes, we do them. They're not super pretty. So let's, again, have those conversations ahead. You don't want to go through all that work every Saturday, every Sunday, and then have it like turn out to be something that's unaffordable. So, really important. So desktop drive-by appraisals, I mean, they're doing the virtual appraisal kind of now, but to be honest with you, it's such a pain in the ass with all the stuff that's needed. Like somebody has to get them kind of like some sort of floor plan or something. And so I've kind of just sent them out. They're coming back fairly quick right now. And I still don't want the stigma of they didn't come into my house. I can't believe they God forbid we get an under appraisal using one of those. I feel like we're going to get roasted and we're going to have to send someone out anyway. Being that they're not busy right now on refis and things are coming back quick, I don't know. I'm ordering full ones, or hopefully if I'm getting a PIW, which is the property inspection waiver. Just a heads up, like jumbo loans, while they do have great rates and everything, they do not offer any sort of property inspection waivers or anything like that. It's a full on, similar to like what a bank loan would be, just with more competent guys handling it on our side. But like, we're asking for similar paperwork. We're just asking for it earlier in the game so we can, review stuff, make sure there's no large deposits and things like that. But just so you guys know, also like gifts are allowed for jumbo loans also, all the same stuff. We can use overtime, we can use bonus, as long as they've had a history of stuff, they're not that hard to get. Reserves can come from 401k. So like, while they're a little more difficult, we find that at least in the markets that we work in, the Hudson County market, and then the people that move from Hudson County to the suburbs, we see like 9 out of 10 people qualify as long as the loan amount qualifies. So yeah, I we're certainly not seeing anybody not get qualified. I think the people having the hardest time right now are the first time buyers that are buying like the 280, the 300, the 320. And, they're seeing these payments that are just so much higher than they were, let's say last year. So now this like starter home or condo is costing them like, you know, $3,000 where it wasn't before. And so those are the guys that if we can use some of these strategies, maybe we get their payments down for a couple of years and then we come to the rescue with a refi within 24 months. You know, just kind of, you know, trying to think creatively. And again, and like I said, this is stuff that you and I can strategize together up front and then present it to the buyer and the seller. Like we'll talk about it real quick and say, hey, can you do anything like this? I'm off by a little bit from this buyer. Or you know, Nancy and I have done this before, like, hey, the client just cannot get themselves to this price. I got to get them to this price or else I'm not going to have a deal. What can we do with a rate? Like, you know, those are all great conversations because we can give you those numbers and you can kind of work that into your deal. And it's all about, you know, getting a transaction to work and having two people agree. However we get there, it doesn't matter. And I think if we showed people that their payments will be the same, even if they go to 980 from 950, they might be open to it. And if they really like the place, they might buy it. Whereas if we just kind of dig our heels and say, nope, 950 is our last offer, then maybe they lose it and they regret it, you know, 4 houses from now. So that's, you know, just like I said, just little tidbits, nothing, no brain surgery here, but just things that might help. Cool. Anything else we missed? I know we'll send this out right away. Like I said, we'll get it out to everyone. Anybody has any questions on anything, let me know. I know I'm speaking at a couple places this week, so some of you are on here will hear some of the same stuff, but I'll try to change it up as much as possible for the specific markets. Anything I can help with, just ask. We're all here. Like next week, I think, you know, Mike, like we have it so that there's always 4 of us on the team available every weekend and also during the week. Like there's always someone here that can pick up a phone. So call if you need us. That stigma of, oh, I thought you were too busy. The only reason we're too busy is because we pick up the phone. So call anytime you need. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. How I do? 12 o'clock, 11:56, 4 minutes to spare. That's a good teacher right there. All right.